What are the reasons why Western Europeans and other Western nations, for that matter, do miss the past so much? Why do they talk about the good old days? Why do they want to make America great again, for example? What's going on here? So long story short, I was born and grew up in Europe. I've lived in Russia for a long time. I've spent a few years living in Asia. I've lived over 1 year down under. And today I'm gonna share with you my take on the reasons why Westerners, Western Europeans, Americans, Canadians, Australians, want to go back to the good old days, okay? So the first reason being that as we age, we tend to become nostalgic, at least a little bit, okay? Our brain is biased and wants us to remember only the good things about the past, okay? About our childhood, you know? It wants us to remember the feelings we had when we were young, okay? So that's the first reason. It's a normal process. I'm not saying we are better off now than before. In fact, I think it's quite the opposite. I'm gonna talk about it in this video. But yeah, it doesn't help us believe we are better off now. That's for sure, okay? Moving on to the main reason. Numbers don't lie, okay? For the average Joe, everything is getting more expensive year after year, okay? Compared to the median wages, things are less affordable now. It's more expensive to buy a house. It's more expensive to buy an apartment, real estate in general. Cars are more expensive than they used to be. Food is more expensive. Our purchasing power is getting only worse year after year, at least here in the West, okay? When it comes to crime, things are getting only worse. You can see it, you can feel it, you can even experience it. The streets are not as safe as they used to be, at least here in France, in Germany, in the UK, for example, or even in Canada, I've heard. Streets are not as safe as before, you know. There's more crime than before. There is a migrant crisis. It's not what it used to be. So, of course, when you see your country getting only worse when it comes to crime, safety, when your purchasing power gets only worse, of course you tend to believe the best years are behind us and the worst is only yet to come, okay? Other than that, now with social media being very biased, you know, being a tool which allows some people to send a message which doesn't reflect the truth, not always. You will find a lot of men having, fled the West, having moved to another place, to Asia, to South America, to Russia, to Eastern Europe. A lot of men saying they are better off living there, okay? And how they explain everything, how they talk about their new city, their new country, sells dreams, okay? They are very optimistic. They are overly sometimes positive, not always. I'm not saying they're always talking only about the pros, but most of them like to send very positive message about the place they have moved to, maybe to convince themselves they have made the good choice. Who knows? But still, social media being everywhere now and being very biased, we tend to believe, at least if you haven't had some international experience, it's always better there. The grass is greener there always, and it's not true. I've talked about the I call it the expat red pill. The expat red pill is there are pros and cons everywhere. It's more about choosing the shit you want to deal with. Okay. So in the West, of course, there are a lot of cons now, okay? It's getting only worse in some aspects. But in other aspects, the West is still quite strong, okay? So when you see these men talking about their country, about a new country, the country they have moved to, the place they have moved to, in only, positive words, of course, you could believe it really sucks here and there is the place you should move to, because there basically by moving there you will solve all your problems, but it is not always the case, most likely not, okay? So that's another reason why some men feel miserable in the West, because they see they have seen, you know, things worsen in their country. The men online who have moved on the place and being very positive about their place worsen even more the feelings of the men who have stayed in the West. And so there is a general, I would say, general sad mood in the West now, and sad mood, thinking everything sucks here and it's not, you know, it's a place that belongs to the past, but the future is somewhere. It's not true, okay? There will be cons there as well, okay? I've lived in Russia, for example. If I make a video about all the pros of living in Russia, which exist, after having watched my video about Russia, you would want to move to Russia. I do know Russia very well. I know there are a lot of pros of living in Russia as well. And if I talk only about the pros, you will say, hey man, this is paradise. I want to move to Russia. Or another example, I've lived in Thailand for 2 years. If I make a video about Thailand, about how it is the best country on earth, and talk only about the pros, you would want to move to Thailand. Of course. Because I just sold you a very biased message, you know, by talking only about the pros. Okay? But there are cons as well. And I do know these cons as well. I know it's not always better there. It's more about weighing pros and cons. What do you want to deal with? What are your priorities in life? Okay? How old are you? Are you single or not? Do you want kids or not? How much do you make? How do you make your money? You know, it's a lot of details you have to consider, have to take in consideration before saying this place is better, this place sucks. It's all about pros and cons and weighing the pros and cons, okay? But anyway, this video is not a video about being an expat. Just saying, with social media, things getting worse in the West, people tend to believe everything is fucked up here. And a lot of things are getting worse here. I agree. I do think on average everything is getting worse here. But some things are still strong here. And yeah, in the future, things could change. And things could become more positive for the West as well. Okay, I really hope so, because there are a lot of things I like about the West. And I would like to keep in my life about the West. And I really missed there, in the BRICS, in Asia and so on. There are a lot of good things as well, but there are some things I really missed about the West there as well, okay? There are good things about the West. And I really hope the West will somehow change. Politics will change, the trend will change, and people will be in a more positive mood, because there is still a lot of potential, you know? The West has a very big potential. Anyway, tell me in the comment below what you guys think. Why do you think people in the West want to go back to the good old days? Why are they so sad now? Not every Westerner is sad now, but a lot of them are. I can meet them in real life. I can see them online. Anyway, share your thoughts in the comments below. In the description, you will find links you should check out. And consider subscribing if you haven't yet. Smash the like button and talk to you soon. Have a good one.